Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Taco, continuing on those pandemic projects. This one we're really reaching to go back in time. This one was one in the box that I had previewed. This is a Pflueger Sea Star 1050, and it's an oldie. It kind of has a little setup, almost like a damn quick kind of a reel. It seems simple in design. Don't know the age on it. Thinking late 50s, early 50s, late 50s. So spinning reels came into effect really after World War II. You don't find many examples of it. Certainly don't find any examples of it in the U.S. that I'm aware of prior to World War II. And Pflueger was a well-known manufacturer of the time, and I believe it got acquired from by Shakespeare in 1959, although it may have been 1957. At any rate, this is what I call kind of a tuition reel. It works. Would I ever take it fishing again? I don't know. But I do want to take it apart and learn from it, and hopefully you'll learn along with me. So everything on this reel seems to work. Well, did seem to work. There we go. Set the bail. And the bail does flip back. So, okay. So it's... I think it's going to be a simple reel. I think it's going to be a big gear with a little pinion, pushing us all out, held on by 3 screws, etc. I think that we can take this off by unscrewing it, because when I look to the back side of this, there is no back end screw here. Interestingly, we have a screw here. They probably anticipated that this handle would break, and it looks like it's just one screw holding that handle on. So that's kind of probably a good design of the time. This is one of those adjustable handles. If you could know the stories that they tell, there's a whole bunch of grease and grime and stuff built up on that handle over time. Probably a lot of sweat and fight from fish and the like. And I'm not going to clean this reel up. We're not going to do too much with it. I'll just show you that if you use some penetrating oil and some steel wool, it can clean up pretty nicely. And over time, I may come back to this reel if I like it so much and make it prettier. But for now, we're just going to investigate what the reel is made out of and show you how to service it, because I am going to do a base service on it. Base services are assuming that there's no pieces and parts needed, and it's kind of oil and grease. So yeah, that cleaned up pretty nice. All right, so I put that in my parts tray. As you notice, I'm wearing a glove so that when I take stuff off like that, I don't have a problem with getting the grease all over my hands there. Let's take the spool off. Let's see what we got up here. So you're playing along with me. I just grabbed this one. This one came in one of these larger lots that I purchased, and really wasn't out to buy it. It just happened to be there with some of the other things. We have a drag adjuster. We don't have top drag washer here. Interesting. I mean, if you look at the slammer drag systems and that, they put the drag underneath, and I bet you that's what they did with this spool. Yeah, there you go. You got a leather drag washer underneath. That looks like it's pressed in there pretty good. I suspect that if I go to make this thing operational, I will want to replace that washer. I'm not going to fiddle with it now because I'm sure I'm going to rip it out if I go to do anything with that. So we've got a little leather washer underneath. We got 2 wires bent around a screw that makes that click sound for the reverse. This looks like our mechanism that it's going to press down against on that leather washer to hold the tension for the drag. And that's how it connects to a spool with that little insert and the little crossbar there. So yeah, okay. So that's the internal design. A little surprise. Wasn't expecting to see that. I was kind of expecting to see a more traditional top drag. All right, so here's a clue. I didn't do this, but if you're working on an old reel, a reel this size, this age, and you have no idea of the history, put a little bit of penetrating oil on those screws before you start to go, and then make sure you have the right width of a screwdriver blade. Because if you have something less than that, you're going to broaden that channel, and you may either break the head off, or you may... Oh, that one's a little difficult. If you break the head off, you're done. I'm going to take that off camera. I need a little bit more leverage here. This is exactly what I was referring to in terms of a stubborn screw. Okay, I switched over to a different screwdriver, and here comes that last screw out now. So be careful with these things, and be patient, and don't go crazy trying to over torque something, because with the age and without a service history on these reels, the chances are these things can be frozen in there, and you'll just have to keep soaking it with WD-40. Now, if that last attempt of mine didn't make that happen, then I certainly would have done that again. All right, I'm just going to bathe them in that so they go back in nice and easily. That's a Power Lube, CRC Power Lube. It's a WD-40 type of product. All right, look at this. One big old gear with a stud riding in a crossbar channel that slides up and down. And it's hard to tell if this is clipped on like a 302. I'm thinking that's what it is, because it's trying to feel for a clip in here. Kind of hard to see. This is some of the fun of exploration here. Let's go grab a cotton swab, clean that up a little bit. Well, it's a plastic part. And again, a little bit of, not sure how that thing is mounted into that plastic. Oh, here we go, we have a little screw. That's silly me. Overlook everything else. All right, let's grab that screw out of there. Looks like I need a micro screwdriver for that. That's what happens when you can take the junk out of there. You can see what's in the channel. I didn't think it came out of the top there. All right, I think we got it now. No, not yet. Simple design. It's got a an offset. That enables you to crank up and down. It's a fixed point. Now I can pull the main gear out. I'm going to put the cross line so I know that it goes that way. We're just going to go clean the channel now. So we can take the nut off now. These are always fun because you're never quite sure what these nuts are. This one looks like a big one. That's probably American and threading. Yeah, it's not a 15 millimeter. All right, we're going to grab that. And once you break the power of that nut, just work it off by hand. That way you don't risk damaging the corners or anything. You can take the spool off. Now we can push the pinion through. This is all kind of playing this by ear because I don't never worked on one of these, but I like this. This is a solidly machined heavy-duty pinion gear here. You clearly won't find something like that in today's reels. And just make sure it's clean. We're going to go put some grease back on this. Nice. For the time, these reels were totally over-engineered back in the day, if you will. All right, just gonna set that there. There's some junk on the axle shaft here, which is probably slowing down the performance. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Make sure that we're cleaned on this plastic block. The plastic block is aged over time. You can see how it's turned yellow. I imagine it was white when it started. But I'm just checking, getting the grease off so I can check for cracks at the moment. Okay, and then we have that north side facing there with a little screw that goes along with it. I'm going to take those side plate screws and put them in here. We have a case that's got some buildup on it. That's probably another reason why this has been a little bit sloppy, is that the grease is dried and kind of acted as a glue. So I'm going to come back in here. Let's try it first with a cotton swab to see if we can get most of that off. I can get a lot of it off. This is what happens when reels don't go fishing. They build up that grease, and then the grease dries, and then before you get them operational again, you pretty much have to take them apart and clean them up. So paper towel after the cotton swab. So Pflueger was headquartered in Akron, Ohio. Sometimes you'll actually see the Pflueger, Ohio series, or an Akron, just named after the town that they were at. Ernest Pflueger was around a long time, and he had a successful reel making business before he left for retirement, turned it over to his sons, and his sons eventually sold it. I just pulled the main gear out of the case. There doesn't seem to be any tricks in this one. Again, a nice solid, probably brass gear here, ventilated for whatever reason. And I think that's called a concentric. I'm not quite sure. It was eccentric, concentric, whatever. It's offset, and that's what's driving the gear up and down. We got some dried grease here again. So let's just, I think I can get that with the paper towel. I can, and then we have a crevice here for the internal part there, so let's get that out of the way and cleaned up. All right, so again, simple design. That's probably why they last. The more these things get over-engineered, the more they tend to break. So we've got this little button here that overrides which direction your reel is going to go. It's an anti-reverse option there. All right, we've cleaned up the gear, inspecting the teeth. They seem fine. I'm going to put some oil onto that little roller stud there. I think it's rolling. Yep, that rolls. And then we're going to put grease onto the main shaft. I'm going to reinstall that. And lay that aside. I'll come back now. We can relocate the rotor. I'm just going to check underneath to make sure that that's clean as well. And again, I may or may not, depending on my mood, I guess, go and try to clean this one a little bit more and make it a fine view. Looks like we've got some internal scarring here from the spool. That could be that sand or something from the beach had worked its way in there, and then just kind of, as it was grinding, doesn't seem like it's too deeply channeled, but I do feel a little bit of a grit, like a sand type of a grit. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of the reinstall then. We're going to come in with the pinion from underneath, push that up. I'm going to hold that so that it doesn't drop down as we go to reinstall. A little bit of dirt on the bottom of this, so might as well get that out of the way too. Again, using a paper towel here. And we can reload the spool. Just got to find the matching point there. There we go. Put that big old 17 millimeter nut on there. I think a 17 millimeter in American tooling is a 5/8, and I'm not sure which one is which here. Just tightening as much of this by hand as I can. And I'll just make the last turn with the wrench. Give it a spin. It's spinning fine. Okay, and take that big old gear now. Oh, got to install some things before we can drive that gear. So here's the hole that's in the axle shaft for the crosswind block. Here's our crosswind block. So next up then, we're going to insert put a little bit of grease on that. Now we can insert that through. You want to point the hole up when you get it through so that you know that you can align that for the screw that comes through. And then you just want to work it in until you line it up. Oops, we just unlined it, if that's a word. But find it, center it with a pin if you need to. Get that screw in there. Always a problem for me. And then we can just go ahead and put that side gear assembly on. And again, I believe that this has got a leather washer up there that's probably worn, but we'll tighten it down. I imagine it'll hold, but it probably doesn't have any kind of variability in the drag at all. We'll find out soon enough. Don't over tighten this. That's a plastic block. You go wrenching down too much and you're going to snap the plastic on a piece that's that old. Alright, that should work. Just going to line the eccentric now. Put a little bit of grease onto the teeth. They're going to intersect with the bottom of that pinion gear up there. And again, you don't have to put the grease on everything. And then put grease into this one because this is going to ride on the shoulders of this block here. Now when we did this, the click mechanism was facing north, so let's get it facing north. Let's make sure, visibly, you want to make sure you can get the stud of the just trying to match the stud here with the indent there. And I think we got it now. Yep. Just a quick little turn of the top there tells us that. Let's go ahead and put the 3 side plate screws back in. And again, be careful with these. It's an old case. Happens the same thing if you're doing a Mitchell like a 302, or if you're doing any of those older reels that are metal bodied reels with metal screws. Metal on metal over time tends to oxidize, rust, freeze, do all the things that metal is good to do. And if you're not careful on the way in or the way out, you can split it, and then you're out of luck. That little bit of the WD-40 on the thread should help with any debris that's inside, and it should enable us to get that out pretty easily next time this reel gets serviced. Okay, we got the handle now. Just going to go ahead and try and thread that properly. Give it a ride. That's turning a whole lot freer. Okay, we had a little cap here with that indentation for the rod. We had the spool, and again, if I get a chance or if I can find something, this leather washer here looks like it's really pressed down. It's something that if I was going to take this reel fishing, certainly I would want to address. But right now I just wanted to learn a little bit about this reel. Let's see if we couldn't understand the mechanics behind it, and in the event that I want to go fully restore, I'll know that I need to do that drag there. Okay, and then our drag button. I'm not hearing the click, so I'm going to take the spool off for a moment. These 2 metal bands should click on this bottom here, which is, there you go. Now I think we got the spool in all the way. Nope, still not hearing it. Maybe we've got to tighten it down a little bit. Still not hearing the click. Unusual. Let's see if we can tighten it. Oh, it'll hold. All right. Well, we're going to go back and figure out why I can't get that click there. But otherwise, well, there's that that spool is out of alignment. We're hearing that with the chirp there. Let's take it off one more time. So there's a ridge in there where that belongs. Just kind of eyeballing the ridge right now. Maybe that we were off the ridge with that. We got a little bit of a click, not much, so that's probably seated. So something may have been a little bit askew there, or it may just be that the spool is scarred. Yeah, we got a little chirp in there. All right, so I guess that's probably one of the reasons why this thing wound up on the table. You got a little bit of a chirp, but not terrible. That's what's scarring the inside of the rotor there. You got it working properly. You got a nice set on it. The bail's working good. And the drag can hold, but the drag will need to be replaced if we want to take this one fishing. Okay, that's the Pflueger. It's a Sea Star 1050, made in Akron, Ohio. Probably in the 50s for sure. And an interesting technology there. A single big drive wheel intersecting with a quality made pinion, little plastic crosswind block in there, and the ability to have an anti-reverse override on that. And nice reel overall. I'm sure for the day it was quite the reel, and I'm sure it was a fair priced reel, probably competitive with the Mitchell 302s or the Dam Quakes. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, I would ask you to subscribe. That's what keeps my channel going. If you have any questions, I try to answer all questions and comments. And I hope you have a great day. Stay well in this pandemic, as I try to post on a regular basis here. If you subscribe, you'll see all of these. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.